Hi friends, and thanks for joining me. This is Pack Rat speaking. I want to thank you for your time and for stopping in to check out this video. I had a couple of ideas and modifications that I've made to my Ontario knife sheath that I'd like to share with you. The model that you see in front of you is an Ontario Tac 1 knife, which is one of my personal favorite blades to carry in the field for utility use. With that said, this is in no way intended to be a review of the Tac 1 knife. That's something that I've really been planning to do for some time now and just haven't made the time to sit down and film a detailed review of this particular knife, which is something I do plan to do in the future though. But I did want to get these modifications out to you just in case it might be of some help to you. Especially if you own, say, a Rat 5 or Rat 7, maybe you own the Tac 1. My thought is you probably love your knife and you might not be so crazy about the sheath, which is my exact feelings on this. The sheath's not all bad. It does have a couple of things going for it. Right here on the back of the sheath you can see that it's got a heavyweight MOLLE compatible webbing on it, which makes it lends it to be flexible as far as how you could attach it, maybe to your backpack or of course on your belt. It is custom marked Ontario, and it does have the model name here, which is I think it has going for it, which is pretty good, is that it does have a blade insert cover, which is of Kydex, to protect the blade from coming through the nylon. It does have here a place for your leg lanyard as well. So it's got a couple of good features, but like I said, it's just not comfortable to carry the knife in the sheath the way it comes from the factory. So I've made a couple of simple modifications just to make it a little better, and I wanted to share those. Keep in mind, maybe you don't have an Ontario knife with this particular sheath, but maybe you have a knife you'd like to carry and the sheath isn't great. Maybe you can use this idea on that as well. Stick with me and we'll take a look at them one by one. Let's take a look at the first of the two modifications I've made to the sheath. This one is the most important in my opinion. When I purchased a knife and started to carry it with this sheath, my problem with it is it's very loose. Let's say my fingers represent the belt. If it's sitting against your leg, it tends to be okay, but you can still see there's a lot of play in the knife, and it tends to rattle a little bit when it's moving around. You know, when you're in the wilderness and you're moving around, you're not always in a standing position. Sometimes you sit down, or sometimes you're on your knees working. This gets hung on stuff and gets caught, pulls on your knife. It's just aggravating to me, and I don't like it being like that. So to combat the problem, what I've done is I've installed a second retaining loop up top, right here. And I actually sewed this by hand with needle and thread. I went to Walmart and purchased my supplies to make this. I'll show you. It didn't cost but probably $7, $8 total to do. And it's made what I think is a major upgrade to the sheath. Let me show you what the knife looks like now with the second retaining loop in there. Okay, that's the original with the button. Sorry, I'm at an odd angle trying to buckle that. And then here's the one that I made. So you can see what the knife looks like with that. It's a lot more secure. Let me show you the side view. If this represents my belt, it's solid, doesn't rock around, doesn't rattle as nearly as bad as it did before. So I really like that add-on. Let me show you the materials that I used to make this, just in case you're interested. Okay, when I went to Walmart to get my supplies, I was able to find everything I needed in the craft department. Let me show you what the three things that I spent just under $10 on to make my modification. First thing I thought would be very important is to have the right thread to do my sewing. This is Coats & Clark outdoor grade 100% polyester threading. This stuff is excellent, heavy duty. I definitely recommend that if you do any sewing on your backpack or any of your outdoor items, your sheaths, whatever, you use this stuff. It's really good quality. And I'm showing you the UPC code, the way it came from Walmart, and also a code on the spool, which is T67. So if you go to Walmart and look around the craft department, you should be able to find this stuff, and I recommend it for any of your gear products where sewing is involved. The second thing that I had to pick up was a little roll of hook and loop. It comes in a roll like this when you find it at Walmart, but basically it is a strip of hook and a strip of loop. which is the hard part being the hook and the soft part being the loop. It's just Velcro brand. This is a 1/2 inch wide. So I got a roll of that. Only cost a few bucks for that. And the last thing I had to buy, I went to the camping department and I bought a lashing strap, which is just like something you would use to attach gear to your backpack, especially like sleeping bags, that type of thing. It comes with 2-sided buckle. This is only one side of that, just to give you an idea of what I used. And this stuff is like a 1-inch wide band of nylon webbing. Okay, so those are the only 3 things that I needed to buy. Let me show you how I put it together. Okay, the first step in preparing my retaining strap on my sheath was to cut the webbing strap, which I got from the camping department. You can see the length of it. And I just got that by measuring the width around the knife. So I put the knife in the sheath and then wrapped the material around just to find out how long I would need it to be. Okay, I didn't measure it, I just eyeballed it because that makes it perfect. Okay, then the second step is to, once I have that cut, is to cut my Velcro. And so all I did was cut one strip of hook, and then on the other side of this was the strip of loop. Okay, on the Velcro, you can see what that looks like. And I sewed this piece on one side and this piece on the inside, right, like that. Okay, and I just sewed it around with a single stitch, and then I folded the nylon over. I'm going to zoom in here so you can see that. Folded the nylon over and then just sealed that, so it gave me a nice neat end here, which shouldn't fray. And then I also used a cigarette lighter just to kind of melt it a little bit to make sure everything was nice and bonded tight. And that's it. The last step of that was just to come back here and sew, using that polyester thread, sew this to the sheath. And I just sewed a straight line down here and a straight line down here. And when I sewed, I was careful not to sew up the belt loop, so I sewed from the inside through here as opposed to sewing through the whole thing. It was a little bit of a tedious process going in and out of that belt loop, but the results were plenty good. Okay, on to the second modification. Over time, I've developed a personal preference to always have some type of a fire steel attached to my survival knife. To keep it simple, basically, a knife can provide you with just about anything that you need in the wilderness if you know how to use it and maximize its capabilities. Except for one thing, you always need the ability to make a fire. Sometimes the number one survival need that you will have is to build fire, whether it's to purify water, to rehydrate your body, to keep you warm in cold temperatures, to ward off predators. I mean, the list goes on and on. Of course, there's always natural ways to make fire, but it's nice in a real stressful situation to have something that can quickly do that task for you. That's why I always keep my fire steel with my blade. If everything else is lost, these things I know I have. Okay, because they're attached to my person. This is a Light My Fire brand, Swedish Army fire steel. I'm sure you've seen it. Everybody's seen this. I've just attached a piece of hollowed out paracord to it and also have a little slider on it. If you buy this fire steel or any Light My Fire steel, it'll come with a little piece of rope. And what you got is the striker and the fire steel jingling around on a string. I don't like that. It goes back to being stealthy. Maybe I don't want metal on metal sounding out through the forest. It alerts game of all kinds. So with this little slider here, I can carry this silently. If I want to take it all out, off of my knife, however I decide to attach it, I can always run it through a belt loop with this system and make sure that I have it on my person so that it's not lost in the woods. So just a quick side note there on the fire steel. Question is, how am I going to attach this to my knife? And that brings me to that second modification. Also, some time ago I was shopping at Walmart, and in the camping department I noticed they had these little black nylon sheaths. It's not an exceptionally high grade nylon sheath. It's pretty thin actually, but it's decent. Only thing it has is just a simple little belt loop on the back of it. These were $1. So for $1 I purchased a couple of these to use. Actually, for one of my little compact handguns, I put the P32 magazine in. It works perfect for that as well. Okay, so looking at that fire steel, I was thinking, what did I have to put it in? This magazine, this little sheath, magazine sheath, whatever, pouch, whatever you call it, worked perfect. So now my question is, how am I going to make this attached to that? And that brings me to my next craft aisle item, which was some 1-inch double-sided Velcro. It's just hook it on one side and loop on the other, so it attaches to itself. I've taken two 1-inch strips together here, and just stick them together to create basically a 2-inch strip, which fits perfectly through the belt loop of this sheath. Now, obviously I've already tried this and I took it apart just so I could demonstrate for you how it works. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and lace this through this belt loop off camera, because this takes a little bit of finagling basically to get it to work, because the hook wants to stick to that real bad, as you can see. So I'm going to get that set up and then I'll bring you right back. Okay, now you can see how I've got my sheath and my hook and loop attached, and just want to show you, I mean, that stuff is snug in place because the hook, as I said, is sticking to this part of the sheath. Now, to make sure I get a secure hold on my sheath, I'm going to unbutton this molly strap here, and then just set my sheath in place on the front of my other sheath, my knife sheath. And now all I have to do is bring these two around, and I want to get them tight. So I'm going to make sure that I'm doing that nice and tight. And I'll seal this up here on the back. I'm hoping you can see that. Okay, I'm going to have to adjust my sheath a little bit to get it centered. And that's it. I mean, it's a simple thing to do. And the nice thing is it's very stable, as if I'd have permanently done it. However, it's not permanent. If I choose at any time to take this off, I can do it. I forgot to put my leg lanyard up here in the molly strap. That keeps my stuff from coming unraveled there. Okay, and that's it. Okay guys, well, this is what the finished result of my Ontario sheath modifications look like. This project cost me under 15 bucks for all the supplies that I needed, and I still have leftovers in case I want to use it for another project. To me, this is 100% improvement on the sheath, mainly because it's now holding the knife much more securely. It carries a lot more comfortable and more stable. And also I have that extra storage space for that essential gear with my fire steel being in place, and I can carry some tinder, a little bit of tinder down here in the bottom, such as cotton or jute rope, something like that I can use in an emergency situation. Good thing is the sheath does, the interior is a little bit rubberized, so I imagined that it would be somewhat water resistant. I do have that extra cordage down on the bottom in case I need to make a bow drill out in the wild. Even that Velcro could be taken off if necessary. Use it to secure a bandage in place, improvised bandage if it was an emergency. So definitely a big improvement. Makes my knife more comfortable and more useful in the field. I hope that the ideas that I've shared have helped someone in some way. And as always, I appreciate you guys' support. I appreciate you taking the time. And I definitely have a lot more coming your way. So I look forward to talking to you again real soon. Take care, guys.